The Parthenon, a great temple dedicated to the city's patron goddess Athena, whose cult had always been celebrated on the high plateau of the Acropolis, was constructed entirely of Pentelic marble and decorated with an ambitious sculptural program. It housed a colossal gold and ivory statue of the goddess by the sculptor Phidias, the Propylaea, the monumental gateway to the Acropolis, an exquisite small temple to Athena Nike, and the Erechtheion, a multi-purpose building that housed a number of ancient shrines, were all complete by the end of the century. The form of a Greek temple was not a space inviting entry, but rather a sort of abstract sculpture marking a place in the world. The temple incorporated a stepped base of oblong plane, rectangular rooms for the main statue and offerings, and one or more rows of columns surrounding all four sides. The vertical structure of the temple conformed to an order, a fixed arrangement of forms unified by principles of symmetry and harmony. The two most important orders in classical Greek architecture are the Doric and the Ionic, which were supposed to reflect the proportions of a man and a woman, respectively. The third order of Greek architecture, known as the Corinthian, first developed in the late classical period but was more commonly used in the Hellenistic and Roman periods. Corinthian column capitals are decorated with vegetal compositions, typically acanthus leaves. In a Greek temple, however, the order governs not only the column but the relationships among all the components. As a result, every piece of a classical temple is integral to its overall structure. A scrap of molding often can be used to reconstruct an entire building. The comparison between the body and the temple is one that ancient writers used, and it helps us tie architecture to the Greeks' other artistic endeavors. Temples and statues express many of the same concepts. For example, that numerical relationships underlie sound and beautiful proportions. That balance is a natural and dynamic principle, and that individual parts articulate an integrated whole. The Greek architect presented these abstract ideals in tangible form. In the archaic and classical periods, Greek builders favored limestone and marble construction. The quarrying and transport of such materials were costly and labor-intensive, and contingent upon substantial state budgets. For example, the wealth Athens accumulated after the Persian Wars enabled Pericles to embark on his extensive building program, which included the Parthenon and other monuments on the Acropolis. Athens was able to engage skilled workmen from all parts of the Greek world and construct the temple known as the Parthenon between 447 and 432 before Christ. Although the Parthenon was an exceptional project, builders of Greek temples strove for the precision and excellence of workmanship that are hallmarks of Greek art in general. A civic or religious body engaged the architect, who participated in every aspect of construction. He usually chose the stone, oversaw its extraction, and supervised the craftsmen who roughly shaped each piece while it was still at the quarry. At the building site, expert carvers gave the block their final form, and workmen hoisted each one into place. The tight fit of the stones was enough to hold them together without the mortar, and metal clumps, invisibly embedded within the layers of stone, reinforced the structure against earthquake. Masters in many different arts collaborated in the rebasing of a temple. Wooden scaffolding was needed for construction, ceramic tiles for the roof, and metal fittings for the interior. Sculptors fashioned the friezes that ornament some temples, such as the Parthenon. They also made statues to fill the pediments, the triangular spaces enclosed by the gable, and acroteria, freestanding figures designed to crown the eaves. Painters enlivened sculptural and architectural details with paint, and metal workers were hired to make any bronze decorative details on the surface of a sculpted frieze.